Hi and welcome back to the channel. So, recently I scrolled down the internet and find the ad which instantly grabbed my attention. And it was obviously not the case of the visual aspect of the ad, but the sounds which was used. And that was the VST piano instrument, which among others can be yours, but later on about it, which was prepared in a very unique way, because it should serve you rather as a percussion, drum or sound design instrument. And it instantly inspired me to write a new piece of music. So I wrote to the developer, we spoke a little bit, and they gladly agreed to show you the plugin and also other plugins, which in my humble opinion are equally unique and worth to mention. So without further ado, let's jump into the Cubase and find out how I use the sound to prepare the track which I presented to you at the beginning of the video. And after that, we jump into something special which we prepared with Pssst Instrument and which is set up in the upcoming Halloween mood. Welcome to the Cubase session. So let's start with the voice sounds from the intro. They were made entirely using just one plugin, the Shhh instrument. And honestly, the name kind of says it all. It perfectly captures the natural, intimate vibe of the whole plugin. When you look at the interface, it's super simple, and I think that's actually the beauty of it. You can focus entirely on writing music, not on tweaking hundreds of settings, which can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. In these days, especially of instrument with multiple mic position, endless controls, etc., this kind of minimal approach feels really refreshing for me and just lets you compose and not overthinking your workflow. The harmonic base of the intro was built mostly with one preset called Telling Secrets, so let's listen to it on its own for a second. After that, I added another preset, Whispers, which to be honest really builds that suspenseful, thriller-like vibe. It's atonal, but still very gentle. It's both beautiful and a bit terrifying at the same time. To introduce those whispering textures, I also used the female memoranda patch. It's got those bending, some kind of rising voice tones, and what I really love here are the imperfections. Especially when we are talking about voices, you can hear these subtle pitch drifts, tiny microtonal shifts, and that's so important, especially when you want to create something unpredictable or slightly unsettling. Speaking of more regular kinds of voices, I added two patches underneath. They hold the harmonic bass and bring just a touch of melody into what would otherwise be quite static sounding melody. And last but not least, the whistling patch. It comes in right at the transition between this calm, airy vocal part and the more dramatic one with the low strings and percussion, which you will hear next. It's like a bridge between two words. Very cinematic in my humble opinion. So yeah, that's the vocal foundation of the intro. Next, let's move on to the instrumental layers. Alright, so let's start with the instrument that actually inspired the whole video, the Preparist. First of all, its interface and the way it shapes the sound are just inspiring. You can literally hit a random note and it instantly gives you an idea. Of course, the percussive idea. It's one of those plugins that makes you want to write something. So looking at the interface, you can see everything. And the pictures show you that the keyboard is divided into some of the section. The lower keys are dedicated to clusters, the higher ones give you tonal sounds, then you move on to the hits, long and shorts, after that non-tonal sounds, and the affixes. And as I can see, and what's really cool, especially when we are going for the atonal clustery percussion sound, is that it totally forgives you laggy playing, because you can literally smash random notes on your keyboard like a 2-year-old kid, and it still will sound really good and inspiring. So yeah, this plugin really sets the foundation for the percussion part and the percussion layer of the soundtrack. So let's hear a few excerpts in the isolation. Now, in this instrument, you can easily follow the sound of each key as it is. But if you feel like tweaking something with the sound, tweaking things a bit, you can jump into this effects section, as you can see here. And there you'll find distortion, compression, delay, ping-pong delay, etc, etc. Basically, everything you would want to have in your mixing palette. Next up, Avantgardist. And this composition, it serves as a kind of a hybrid between the percussion and the tonal piano. I started with the almost percussive sound, almost percussive patch, and finished with the muted clean sound. The instrument gives you really a wide palette of ready-to-go presets. Some of them are more percussive, some are more tonal. It really depends of your needs of the composition when we talk about using this instrument. So let's listen to the ones I used for this piece in isolation. Speaking of the interface, as you can see, it's actually identical to the previous instrument. You have this main menu and also the effects the same as for the previous Preparist instrument. And this is good because you don't have to learn the whole new system again once you've already known the previous instruments from the Pssst instrument. The sound menu is divided into 4 main categories, and from my experience, bearing in mind this very composition, it's a great idea to start from the very first one and just explore. And trust me, it should be the best way to really capture the initial inspiration for your composition. But yeah, let's go ahead and listen to a few of other patches. The fourth instrument in the row is sticks, and again it's super simple, which is exactly what makes it great. It works especially well when you are creating those shimmering atmospheric high percussion textures. But as in my case, you can also choose one of the playable patches and treat it more like a tonal instrument. In this very composition, it helped me enhance the higher frequencies and slightly widen the stereo image of the composition. So yeah, sticks might seem basic at first glance, but it's actually a really nice and powerful tool to add a sparkle, add a bit of a space to your arrangement and composition. And finally, noise. And in this respect, the origin of the instrument is really interesting because the makers recorded all kinds of subtle and unusual sounds. For example, crackles from bubble wrap, the whisper of the ribbon, the hum of a hairdryer, other electric devices, pencil drawing, etc., and make it and transform it into something playable. In my composition, I treated noise more like a synth kind of instrument. I used it mainly to create patterns in the lower part of the track because, as you probably heard, the piece is quite percussive, and without those sustained textures it might feel too raw to the listener. And that was the point of the process of the composition, because when I first wrote the section with only string ostinatos and percussion, it sounded really bare. So adding those pads, which you will hear in a second, made a huge difference compositionally. Within noise, you have two main categories. The first is focused on ASMR sound design textures. I use those towards the end of the soundtrack, layering them to shape the atmosphere sound. So as you can hear, this tool is super powerful, not just for playing, but for sculpting the mood, especially if you are scoring for picture, film or video game, it's really easy to go when we talk about sound designing, SFX, etc. The second category is even more subdivided, as you can see here, because there are 6 subcategories within it, offering really endless variety. I won't go through all of them because then the video will be way too long, but let's hear some of the patches which I used in the composition. And despite of these great instruments, it's also worth mentioning the use of time signature in the composition, because they actually play a big role in shaping this atmosphere of tension and suspense. The piece, as you can see, starts with a very familiar 4/4, something most listeners instantly recognize and feel comfortable with, and it gives the sense of stability and the structure right from the very beginning. But as the choral elements slowly builds, I started to shift the matter, moving into 5/8 at first, and then shifting and freely drifting between 5/6 and 7/8. This gradual rhythmic distortion makes the listener lose their sense of grounding. So even if the music itself can be tonal, diatonic in the harmonic way, the irregular pulse keeps you on the edge. You have to really focus to feel where you are in the rhythm. So you should always stick with the simple idea at first. So the simplicity is the key of the composition, if we can say that. So let's assume that you want to receive some kind of effect of the composition, of the orchestration. You should firstly try the easiest path to receive it, and after that, if this path didn't give you the intended effect, then you can switch to more complex one. So to wrap things up, all of these instruments together create very unique toolkit for building the tension atmosphere, but also for other kind of the music, because we should not focus only and treat it as a dedicated only to the dark horror sounds. Each one brings its own personality, from whispery voices to raw percussive sounds and dark pad drones. And right now you can get 40% off all of the Pssst instrument by using the code which is visible on the screen now. But that's not the end. Together with the creators of these instruments, we prepared something special, the Halloween contest, in which you can win 3 Pssst instruments of your choice. And here are the rules for the participants. Create the original piece of music which captures the horror, tension, thriller, noir sound. Keep it short, no longer than 1 minute and 30 seconds. You can use any VST and live instrument you like. You can either compose standalone music, or you can score to picture, film, or any artwork of your choice. Be creative. Send your submission by the date which is visible on the screen by using the form which is linked in the description to this video. The winner will be chosen based on the uniqueness and emotional expression of your composition. Mixing and mastering is important but not crucial. And finally, the winner will be announced on November 7th, right here in this channel, and also on the Pssst Instrument website. So, good luck, have fun, and most importantly, make something happen.